I think many of you know that we've been teaching Mondo Zen facilitation now for a couple of years since Junpo set out Fujin and I to further develop the process of training more and more practitioners in the art of Mondo Zen. And so as we close our second cohort of facilitators, which is what we're calling folks who complete this, there's a few pieces that are helpful for anyone who's here in our sangha and for anywhere just to notice. And it's sort of lovely to have the time and energy to see the wisdom of this particular teachings and to know that this Junpo's gift is going to flourish in the world. So I want to start by putting a sort of a, Mondo Zen in a larger context, or to say that Mondo Zen is the entire Dharma teachings that Junpo has offered us. So we talk about the process that you go through when with a facilitator, when you go through the Mondo manual as Mondo Zen facilitation. But you're practicing Mondo Zen whenever you do this work in your life, and it is really an ongoing commitment. And so the bigger context starts with the 5 training elements, and the idea that 2 of the elements, genuine insight and emotional maturity and integrity, are all wrapped up in the Mondo Zen facilitation and Mondo Zen. So I love reading these 2 particular elements because they're so wonderful. And I encourage you to review page 17 and 18 at some point in the sutra book. But genuine insight: have I tasted the pure, sweet truth of the divinity within myself? Do I consider my personal insight and self-realization adequate? Have I experienced the freedom that is promised and offered by all of the contemplative traditions? Where could the kingdom of heaven really lie if not within me? So genuine insight is very much where in the Hollow Bones tradition we put our zazen practice. We practice zazen with the notion that we're increasing our likelihood that we'll notice the genuine insight that is all around all the time. And when we do Mondo Zen, and in the Mondo Zen facilitation koans, the first 10 koans are really very much about this particular practice. Have I tasted the pure, sweet truth of the divinity within myself? Can you listen without an opinion? Where do you experience clear, deep heart mind? In this body. In order to answer those from a truly awakened and insight perspective, you're tasting the pure, sweet truth of divinity. I am. Second question: do I consider my personal insight and self-realization adequate? Well, when we move through the sequence of the 10 koans in the first part of the Mondo Zen process, we are continuing to deepen that insight of self-realization. Who am I? Who are you? Who are we at this level, at this depth of awareness? What are the qualities? Fearless, empty, silent, timeless, imperturbable, vast, eternal, still, peaceful, aware. Can I gesture? Can I, in my daily life, express this intuition, this awareness? That's why we love the pure awareness Dharani. This awareness, swaha. Does it come and go? Does this come and go? What do I need to do? Remember, choose. So genuine insight is pointed to, is accessed through our first 10 koans in Mondo Zen facilitation. And there's this interesting phenomenon that occurs. Historically, Mondo Zen facilitation was done on a Mondo Zen sesshin. You had 6 days to meditate all day, to be silent, absolutely, to have nothing to do but follow the bells. And then we would do this process. So most people, I would say many to most, would come away from a 6 or 7 day sesshin with this real strong sort of sense of clarity around their genuine insight. And we would take that home and, I don't know if your experience like mine, but it slowly fades. Life gets in the way, the biz and the buzz and the noise of life, kind of. And so we practice zazen. And because of the way we kind of, it was taught and the way we learned it, we didn't necessarily continue to work with the koans. We worked with our emotional koan, part 2, which I haven't gotten to yet, but we didn't necessarily stay connected to the actual 10 koans. Now, a little bit of history, what makes Rinzai Zen distinct and characteristic from, say, Soto Zen is the emphasis not simply on zazen practice, but on koan work as well. That's not to say Soto does not have koan work in it. It's just not emphasized. In Rinzai, it very much is emphasized. And just to be clear, koan work is a dialogue on which I am in relation with a teacher or a Tanto or a Roshi or whoever the teacher is, and we're having a conversation with the dialogues, with the koan. Now, of course, much of the koan work I do on my own. I do with my own inquiry with a koan, right? Can you listen without an opinion? Can I listen without an opinion? Does a dog have Buddha nature? So historically, koan, since Rinzai was primarily a monastery tradition, you would practice at the monastery. That could be something you practiced all day. Because of the way Mondo Zen is designed, we don't have all day with a koan. We don't have all week with a koan. We have a couple of hours before the next one gets taught in the 6-day sesshin. So there are other ways of working with it. And of course, for a while, there was, if so many of you remember back, the Zoom class, that was when Zoom was a novelty, where folks would study with Junpo and we would say, do a koan in a day or a week. There was a longer emphasis. The point I'm trying to make here is that any of you and all of us can at any time take any one of these koans and work with them. Spend a week with it. Have a conversation, a daisan or a dokusan with a teacher, and this is the koan I'm working with, right? And take the time to really sink into the depth of that particular koan. You'll find you'll have some favorite ones. You'll find you'll have some ones that are more challenging. What's it like to spend a week demonstrating and expressing to people your insight with gestures? So we work with koans, and so a koan is not just an internal process. A koan is something that goes through a dialectic. Have I tasted the pure, sweet truth of divinity within myself? Do I consider my personal insight and self-realization adequate? Have I experienced the freedom that is promised and offered by all of the contemplative traditions? Interesting, that third one, all the contemplative traditions. So Junpo is also very much encouraging us to have a practice that includes perspectives and includes other means for tasting this insight. And then comes the second part of the koan practice, the emotional koans, part 2. I'm pulling up my book because I like to make sure. The part 2 is described as emotional awareness intervention koans. Okay, emotional awareness intervention koans. And so, interestingly, unless I've missed something, I haven't seen a lot of emotional koans in classical koans. Okay, in a way, I would say emotional koan work is a different sort of animal. It is, to me, the unique contribution that Junpo makes to the larger Zen tradition. The idea that I can deal with my emotional body, my emotional triggers, using a koan style practice, which means I go in the 5 training elements to a second training element, emotional maturity and integrity. Am I capable of experiencing the deeper feelings of fear, sadness, grief, and compassion, which underlie my normal conditioned reactions of anger and shame? I'm going to repeat that again. Am I capable of experiencing the deeper feelings of fear, sadness, grief, and compassion, which underlie my normal conditioned reactions of anger and shame? So it's interesting because if we reduce the emotional koan work to my emotional koan, right, then when I'm triggered, I drop and I respond. Am I really experiencing the deeper feelings of fear, sadness, grief, and compassion? Really experiencing it. Koan 11, what are the deeper feelings that lie beneath violent anger, shame, and disconnection? Now, of course, I think everyone here has been through this particular process, so we have an answer. But last time I checked my emotional experiences are way more diverse than any given moment. So really, this is an opportunity to experience the deeper feelings of fear, sadness, and grief underlying at any time. Right? That's part of emotional maturity. It's not feeling it. It's actually having the experience, right? An embodied experience, which is why we also have conscious embodiment. Because when we really have our bodies involved, then we experience the feeling with our whole self, which is why that wonderful teachings that Tozan gave us is so helpful for us. Okay, really experiencing things, really experience what's underneath, taking that time to do that. Okay, that's part of it. So that's an ongoing practice too. And of course, let's remember ourselves, if it's a koan, it's not just I'm having my little internal dialogue. It's I'm able to express the experience to someone else, to a teacher, so that they get that I'm having the experience. Okay. Second point of emotional maturity and integrity, am I willing to choose to respond from the truth of compassion that this deeper realization brings forth? Now I need to get to the 13th koan, right, which is, but let's just make sure I go through the 12th koan. Now that you know that deeper feelings beneath these violent emotive reactions, can anyone or anything ever make you violently angry, shame you, or make you disconnect or dissociate? So that's where you get the truth of compassion with oneself. No one makes me angry. No one shames me, right? My genuine insight allows me to inform not only the experience of these emotional triggers, the emotional response I'm having, but to actually drop into my compassionate, genuine insight practice. Have the experience, drop into insight, and choose a compassionate response. Choose a wise, skillful means. That is an emotional koan, right? And that is an ongoing practice, right? And of course, if it's a koan, it's an ongoing practice, not just with myself. It's an ongoing practice that I'm able to express to others. That could be the person right in front of me who's triggering me, which is why Junpo often taught in the response, I choose something different, I am going to show up here, and letting the person know you're doing the work with, that there's something going on here. I'm doing my work, right? That allows it to be in daylighted that this is a koan I'm working with. And of course, what I'm suggesting and what I'm recognizing in this wisdom is this practice is something that is also not just something I do, but I work with my teacher. I'm able to report the insights that I'm having. So this is emotional maturity and integrity, right? This is the opportunity of Mondo Zen. So then Mondo Zen becomes practicing my genuine insight regularly, daily, through the many means, and then practicing my emotional maturity and integrity through the emotional koan work that I'm doing. So really the big lesson for me, which is what I'm really here to share, is that the actual process of Mondo Zen facilitation is one where I have my first experience of this wisdom teaching. And the lessons are, what next is an opportunity to continue to practice Mondo Zen, to continue to take these teachings and these koans and have them be part of my daily life. And having these practices be part of my daily life means not only do I have a strong zazen practice, but I have a teacher who I am able to continue to develop my ability to express the wisdom that is arising from this practice. And I have a sangha who can support me as I share in this wisdom that we're offering to everyone, right? Because as a sangha, we're committing, or certainly as a priest, but yeah, as a sangha, to the vow, the Mahayana Bodhisattva vow, which is we're not just in it for ourselves. So this emotional practice is an endless opportunity, last time I checked, to do both, to have emotional maturity and integrity, and to continue genuine insight. Right. It doesn't mean we succeed at it every time, but it means at each moment we have the opportunity to experience our own challenges, our own reactivities, to experience our own ability to drop into clear, deep heart mind that we've practiced to the point where it's not so far away that we can remove the clouds of my ego to remember and choose compassion, and then skillfully show up with wisdom what is being called for in this moment, in every moment. And so the teachings are ongoing. They're part of my daily life, and they're growing in the sense that more and more people are being interested. And I find that particularly what attracts people to these teachings are this unique opportunity of the emotional koans of the Mondo Zen process. And yet we need both. We need the genuine insight. We need the ego deconstruction of the first 10 koans and of the tradition of zazen practice. And we need also to continue to practice our emotional maturity. I think to close, I'm just gonna, it's hard to resist reading this for the many times that we have, but from the manual, from Master Rumi. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, it does not matter. If you've broken your vow 1,000 times, still come, and yet come again.